Hey guys, I want to do a quick update on what I think is going to end up being probably one of the biggest scandals of the entire Trump administration. And I think it could actually end up being like the thing that we talk about, like when we talk about Watergate. It has like this connotation, and everybody knows it means corruption, and it just has a sick feeling. And that is this whole boat strike in Venezuela issue. So to catch you up very quickly, it came out, I don't know if it was a whistleblower or somebody, that on the very first strike against the so-called drug boats, we've hit a number of them, but on the very first one, uh, after the boat was struck and the smoke cleared, there were two guys basically hanging onto the boat, injured, and that the commander of SEAL Team 6, the Special Forces, the Special Operations, ordered a second strike and killed them. Now, this goes into a whole bunch of levels, but that was claimed that was a result of Pete Hegseth giving the order that we have to kill everyone, no survivors, which I want to be very clear, in and of itself is an illegal order. You cannot ever give military the thing of like saying just kill everybody, because there are always circumstances, and I say this as a military member, that could pop up in which a legitimate target stops being a legitimate target. And that is when they are injured, when they're hurt, if they surrender. All of that is a situation in which the military can no longer continue to strike or kill somebody. So this information came out, and it sent chills really everywhere, as it should. I mean, even from the Democrats, of course, but even the Republicans. The Senate Armed Services and the House Armed Services committees both said that they're going to look into this. Pete Hegseth initially, because, this is how they do it, he reacted with, "We've only begun killing narco terrorists," like he's doubling down. But I think after he did that, he's probably been a little more chilled and a little more nervous about what could potentially come. Who else is responsible is this admiral, and I can't think of his name offhand, who was the one that actually ordered the second strike. Now, I want to freeze you right there and go back to maybe a month ago. We heard that the commander of Southern Command retired early. He made the decision to get out of the military early, and there were a lot of questions about why he hasn't made a public statement. He's getting out in December. Basically, he's retired without the credit of one of his stars as general, because you have to serve in a specific rank for 3 years to get retired at that level. He is giving that up, and that's not something that's just done casually. And so it was assumed that he just disagreed with these operations, that, striking narco boats, because it's very questionable if this is even legal in the first place. I don't think it is. But now finding out that in fact there was a situation where a second strike killed people that were non-combatants, I can certainly see why he got out now. So this leaves open for a lot of real concern for people that participated in this operation and ordered this operation, in terms of, will they be charged with a war crime, or are they war criminals? And on the surface of it, it certainly looks like they could be. That includes Pete Hegseth with the order. That includes the admiral that gave the order. And in theory, it includes the operators that actually carried that out and performed that second strike. Look, you are supposed to know, and we learned this. When I was in officer training, one of the very first lessons we had was learning what is a legitimate target and what isn't, because we follow the law of armed conflict. And beyond that, there's a maritime law which governs even on top of what you saw with this boat strike. And so it is very clear that that second strike never should have happened. In fact, the military should have switched to a rescue pose and tried to rescue these men, because they are no longer combatants. In fact, now they're distressed sailors. Um, but there's a lot of potential culpability to go around. If I'm one of the operators that push the button, I'm going to be nervous. Obviously, the commander, I'm going to be nervous. And if I'm Pete Hegseth, I'm going to be nervous. The reason I think this could end up being one of the biggest scandals of this administration is because what is clear here is not that the DOD and Hegseth are not really arguing that that second strike never happened. They aren't arguing that. They're just saying that that second strike was legal and okay. And I don't know any situation, again, I'm going to leave my mind open for more facts, but I don't see any situation in which a second strike was warranted. And so what you have now, you have all these scandals in the Trump administration, much more even scandalous than this. But on this one, since it's life and death, since it's, following through on an action that a lot of people don't even know is legal in the first place, it has the potential of being a kind of a meme, if you will, of the corruption of this administration. And so I'm going to be watching if this continues to grow, which I think it will. Congress is back in session this week. There's going to be a lot of questions asked in terms of the senators and congressmen about, are you going to investigate? What is that investigation going to look like? I fully expect we won't see stuff right away because they'll probably have briefings in classified settings. But I would not be surprised if eventually the commander, Pete Hegseth himself, is called in front of Congress, even the operators, and we're going to find out a lot more. So I think this is really dangerous for the Trump administration. I think it really is a opportunity. That's the wrong word. It's a chance to show the corruption in this administration, but do it in a way which I think is impactful. If in fact there was a second strike, and again, the Department of Defense is not even arguing that there wasn't, that appears to be a war crime and frankly, murder. Now, one other point I want to make on that. Pete Hegseth gives an order that nobody should survive, right? And what you see in this admiral that carried out that attack is what I worry, where you have these officers that are so eager to please that they know what they're doing is wrong, but they also know that if they disobey that order, they'll be fired. And so they're choosing their jobs. They're choosing their jobs over doing what they know to be right, even when it comes to life and death issues. So the broader statement on this, the broader point, the broader concern is what levels of government are similar things happening, not a second strike that kills two people, but like where somebody knows that something that's happening is either illegal or immoral, but they follow through in it because they don't want to lose their job. And that's why I say this thing is kind of the meme of the broader culture rot that's going on. And you see that even in the House and Senate. Look, I dealt with it, January 6th and those things. My friends, members of Congress that know what January 6th was, they know better, but they're too scared to say it out loud because they don't want to lose their job. So let's hope for justice. Let's hope for answers here. And let's also hope that people see that just following orders is not a legitimate defense. That's what we heard in the Nuremberg trials after World War II. And I assume that's what we're going to hear pretty soon. So hit like, hit subscribe, stay in touch. I'm going to keep us updated on this issue and many others, but expect to see this one grow.